Happy Wine Wednesday, everybody, all you mer people in the universe. I've decided I'm going to try to, well, first of all, this is Sparkly Wine Mermaid Tiffany, in case we haven't met before. And I'm going to try to start incorporating men more into my language on the podcast here. I always tend to refer to the ladies and the women listening. I know that we are targeted towards women. That's a lot of the subject matter is probably things that would be more interesting to women, or at least that's my opinion. And women are just some beautiful creatures that I love to work with. But men, you are welcome too, and you are appreciated. And one of the changes coming up on the podcast that I wanted to chat with you on this pop-up episode is chat with you about that we are going to have men on the show. And so I think up until this point, we've only heard women as our guest speakers and interviewees, but we have some fun episodes coming up with men, and one of those is going to be one of our new series. So one of the things that I did when we started the podcast was we did a couple different series because I was actually using recorded interviews that I had done for an online video series, and so that was already a theme. And it really matched what I wanted to bring out into the world through the podcast. But we will be doing more of those. So one example is that I want to do a crowdfunding series for entrepreneurs who want to learn more about crowdfunding and hear from the experiences of others who have done it. And so I actually do have one of those coming up soon, probably next week, September 4th, 2019. We'll be hearing from Jess Kupferman of She Podcasts. She's half of She Podcasts with her teammate Elsie, and they are hosting their first ever live women's podcasting conference in October. It's around the 12th through 14th, I believe, of October. I will be there, so I'd love to meet you if you're going to be there. And so we will have Jess on the show next week, as I mentioned, and that will be part of our crowdfunding series. And so I think the way that I'm going to plan on doing it, since sometimes these interview opportunities and availability come up sporadically, I'm not necessarily going to try to batch and save all the interviews to be released in sequential order at one time. I'm going to do what I've seen some other people do, and that is just I'm going to put in the title of the episode that it is part of whatever that theme is. So, for instance, this one I may even title as crowdfunding series because I am going to tell you a little bit about something I'm doing with crowdfunding. But Jess is next week with She Podcast. We're going to hear about her crowdfunding experience, and so I particularly wanted to speak with her about crowdfunding and what she had done and what was successful and where the challenges were. And so I'm going to put that under the crowdfunding series as well. But the next week may be something else. So that's what I mean, as in they're not necessarily all going to be released concurrently or sequentially one after the other. They may be sprinkled in with the other more general episodes that I do as well. So that's something to expect, and I would like to try to get an episode out every Wednesday. That is my goal. It has not been happening all the time, but Wine Wednesday, that's a fun day of the week to release these, so that's my goal. If anybody has any opinions on that, I would be open to hearing them. You can reach out, info@peaceloveandwine.com. And what else is going on? So I talked to you about the series. I talked to you about She Podcasts Live. And another series that I may do sometimes when I want to make sure that you get to hear some of the best material or my favorite interviews is I'll be doing a best of series as well. So whether that's something that I think is a timely topic that is coming up in my life that I want to make sure that you get to experience thematically, then maybe I'll relaunch that episode on the podcast. Or just because it's been a while, a lot of times I don't think everybody goes through and listens to podcasts necessarily from episode 1, particularly if there's been a good number of them. So I want to make sure people get the opportunity to hear some of the women that I spoke to early on and get the value out of those that I get whenever I re-listen to them as well. And moving on to, the other series that I'm testing out. We will be recording it this last weekend in August, is Radio Podcast Theater, which is a fun little theatrical show that we will be doing, like a old-timey radio storytelling. So I belong to a sort of non-practicing at the moment group of amateur theater enthusiasts, shall we say, called Following Seas. We're based in Long Beach, California, and for several years we were fortunate enough to be able to participate in the famous Pirate Festival of Long Beach, and we were able to do the presentation of Treasure Island right on the sand overlooking the water. It was super fabulous, not without its challenges. That's for sure. But we all have so much fun getting together and being silly and pretending that I decided it would be fun to share that with the world on the podcast. So that reprise of Treasure Island will be happening upcoming as well. That's something fun to look forward to. Since it's a full play, I don't know exactly how we will do that in terms of how you will get to listen to it. I might release snippets of it, or maybe we'll release it in multiple episodes. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be one super long episode. I guess if you have an opinion on that, I'd be interested. I get a lot of people saying different things about podcast length. And to me, I like long podcasts. I like short format as well. If it's long, I'm fine picking something up the next day again. But I know some people have problems with their podcast players not starting them up where they left off, and so that gets frustrating for some people. But for me, I love listening to something while I'm in the car, and if I'm listening to something that's an hour long and I have to drive an hour, then that's great to not have to try to fiddle with the phone from the car, right? And if I'm just running a quick errand at the grocery store and I want something 15 minutes, that's nice too. But I don't know. I don't mind longer ones is all I'm trying to say. So I guess I would love to hear your opinion on that. And Patreon. Yes, I mentioned that a little bit ago with Jess Kupferman and She Podcasts. So they have their crowdfunding is through this. Well, one of their ways they've crowdfunded is through Patreon, which is a monthly membership site. It's kind of like a digital tip jar. So it's where people can go on, creatives of all different types, whether they're singer-songwriters, podcasters, dancers, musicians, and they have a web page on this site, Patreon, and it would be really helpful, I'm sure, if I could tell you exactly what mine was and not mess it up. So let me make sure that I double check this for you. Yes, okay, so mine, if you'd like to check it out, is patreon.com/peace, love, and wine. That's patreon.com/peace, love, and wine, all spelled out. So you can go there and see what my page looks like. I've recently started mine and have yet to really spread the word about it too much. So I can't remember if I've talked about it at all on the podcast so far, but I know I have posted about it a little bit in social media. And if you check that out and you feel so inclined to support the show in an extra special way, of course, I appreciate your listening and I appreciate any ratings and reviews you're able to leave. That surely helps other people find us. But Patreon helps us financially, and it's a way that the everyday person can become sort of a micro producer, so to speak, where if you donate $5 a month, then you get your name in the show notes as a supporter, and we love that. So, and there's a way to get your business name on there as well, and there's different tiers for different things. So people can also donate a one-time donation to show support too. But if you would check it out, I would be so grateful. You can check my page out again at patreon.com, patreon.com/peace, love, and wine. And I welcome and look forward to hearing from you. You can email me info@peaceloveandwine.com. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And I hope there's something yummy in your glass. Cheers.